The good news for the Rams, if there is any, 4 teams packed together in the NFC West. 3 of them lost. The Cardinals lost to the Seahawks. Yeah. The 49ers lost. We're going to pivot to that one, and the Rams lost as well. The Rams are still very much alive. They're 1 game behind the Seahawks and Cardinals now.
Everybody's alive.
Tied for 3rd/4th in the NFC West. But the 49ers, and when we did our picks podcast on Thursday, like, there's no way we're picking the 49ers if we know Brock Purdy's not playing.
No.
But as of Thursday morning, Purdy practiced Wednesday,
right,
and he went out on Thursday, and Jay Glazer was talking about this yesterday. Did an MRI Monday, didn't show anything. Practice Wednesday, Thursday practice, his arm locks up. They did another MRI. It still doesn't show anything, so they still don't know what's going on. But the Thursday, like, came out and threw some, and it was like, oh, no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
That was the sign that we're going to see Brandon Allen, and we did see Brandon Allen. And for a team to face a team like the Packers at Lambeau Field, I don't care how desperate you are. If you don't have your starting quarterback, you're going to have a hell of a time winning, much less being competitive. And the 49ers just weren't yesterday. It's the worst loss since 2018. I haven't seen the 49ers get pushed around and dominated the way they got pushed around and dominated yesterday.
No, that's right. You said a lot of right things. I mean, yeah, there's no way I would have picked the 49ers to win either. I mean, even when Thursday, when I heard some of that stuff, I was kind of like, I think he'll end up still playing. I don't know. I mean, I know enough about Brock Purdy and what people out there in San Francisco tell me, and he's a tough football kind of guy that wants to compete and play and do all that. But yeah, you're talking about a team that's, trying to rebound after some crazy losses. They're trying to find the mojo that they've lost from the last few years. And then you're going into Green Bay, which is a really talented team and motivated because they haven't played their best football either. And you're going to go in with Brandon Allen. And again, not that I say he's but he's a backup that just hasn't played in a long time. And you think you're going to be able to keep pace and do that with the Green Bay Packers? Yeah, they were totally outclassed. And you never say that with the 49ers. You said it. I mean, you said it right. The one thing we're not seeing from the 49ers is domination in the run game. We all thought maybe that would start again when Christian McCaffrey got back healthy. That is yet to really happen. And then the other thing that I think is concerning and what you're referring to is just the 49ers and their badass defense that usually is just smothering and hitting people everywhere and making the game crazy physical. We don't see that. Josh Jacobs was breaking tackles left and right last night. They were moving the 49er D-line around. And then Jordan Love and company made a few good pass plays and explosive plays that way. But, yeah, I mean, it was a dominant effort by the Green Bay Packers, who are, I think we're at the time of the year where we go, you are who you are. But Green Bay would be one of maybe 2 or 3 teams in the league I go, yeah, they are who they are, but they have potential to be even better than what they are because of their talent. They're a young team. They're 8-3, and I don't say this to be disrespectful at all. They're 8-3, and their quarterback has played B- football this year. He played.
It was the first game all year he didn't throw an interception.
Exactly right. Yesterday was the cleanest game he played, and I still wouldn't say it was a great game. But if he can start playing like we saw at the end of last year, I'd say watch out because Green Bay is one of those teams that could upset an Eagles-Detroit NFC Championship game.
They've lost 3 games.
Yeah.
Week 1 to the Eagles.
That's right.
Right down to the wire. Looked like they could have won
right.
it. They lost to the Vikings in a game they almost came back and won. It was Jordan Love's return from missing 2 games with the MCL injury, and he was horrible in the first half, got it together in the second half, and then they lost to the Lions.
Yeah.
Who hasn't lost to the Lions except the Buccaneers in week 2.
Right.
So the Packers, and it's just weird to see 8-3 and 3rd place in the division.
Yeah, right.
But they are a team that can play with anyone, and they came on strong at the end of last year. They get to go back to Detroit. That's a Thursday night coming up next week, the week after Thanksgiving. Packers at Lions. That should be a fun one, and that one will go a long way toward, I think, determining how this all fits together. Because Vikings and Lions, they've got no wiggle room because, well, if the Lions slip up, they got to worry about the Vikings and the Packers.
Yeah,
the Vikings slip up, they got to worry about the Packers.
Yeah,
and it's just they're pushing and pushing and pushing all the way through to the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's what's going to make it good. It's going to make those teams play their best quality football here down the stretch and into the playoffs. Really, when you look at great teams of like the past, a lot of times they were pushed by somebody else to continue to be great through the year to keep home field advantage. And then, of course, you got to win in the playoffs and beat that other great team that's kind of challenged you. But I've never had a game where I've written notes of like, man, the Packers are whooping the 49ers ass and things like that throughout it. I mean, Josh Jacobs, the broken tackles, the way they move the ball that way. Then the third down conversions, especially in the first half. I mean, there was a ton of 3rd and 5s and 3rd and 6, and Jordan Love would just Dobbs over the middle, Jaden Reed over the middle, first down. But these type of plays right here where, again, it was a game where Josh Jacobs ran for 106 yards. His longest run of the game was the first play of the game at 18. And then the rest of the game was just like 4 yards, 5 yards, tough 3 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, maybe a 1 yard run. But he gives them an attitude. And then you couple that with Emmanuel Wilson, the other running back, it's a pretty good two-headed monster. And then we know, and this is where I go with the Packers, and I really like them, Mike. Even though it's been a little up and down on the roller coaster, when they play at their best, they catch my eye to where I go, whoa, that looks like really damn good and special. And they got guys at receiver and tight end that are special. So they have that potential, and that was a big win for them, a statement win for Matt LaFleur, and doing that to his old buddy Kyle Shanahan.
When you think about it, back to the running back theme, the best teams in the NFC do not have homegrown running backs. Now, the Lions have David Montgomery, who they picked up on free agency, and Jahmyr Gibbs. So they've got the combo.
Right,
they're the exception. The Eagles have Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
The Packers have Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
The Vikings have Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Without Aaron Jones, that offense is very different. The 49ers have Christian McCaffrey, who they acquired and traded a couple of years ago.
That's what I'm saying. It's starting to flip. The best teams in football are starting to go, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's start going through the running game. The running game, first off, like we've talked about in the past, college football players are not used to pulling guards, these intricate running games, because everybody in college plays the same offense. Oh, let's play a spread and let our athletes make plays in space. Yeah, it's not that crazy to defend schematically. So I think there's that. And then the best way to get those explosive plays that we see that are fun, more times than not throughout the weekend, it comes off of a fake run. And now, this guy's way down the field, and we throw a bomb and do that. And that's what, like you're saying, the best offenses in football, you named basically 7 out of the top 10 offenses in the game right now. The Buccaneers have found it with Bucky Irvin and Rashad White. You didn't mention the only other teams you didn't mention, the Falcons. Who do they have? Bijan Robinson, right? Then the Commanders are one team that's running the ball well, and that's with a little bit of 2 guys, and of course the quarterback can run as well.
The 49ers, and you mentioned this earlier, the defense isn't what it's been.
Right.
And we both kind of locked onto the idea several years ago that the 49ers have accumulated, and I think this is John Lynch influence, a bunch of badasses who will roll out of bed and run through a wall, and they don't need to practice tackling to the ground. They don't need intense sessions. They're ready to go at the drop of a hat.
Their sessions are intense even when they don't want to be.
Right.
That's what it is.
The problem is sometimes the wall wins, and they have too many guys who are injured, and the defense had been down to Nick Bosa and Fred Warner for the most part as the guys who stand out. Bosa doesn't play. Fred Warner's the only one left. So the injuries have become an issue. Here's Kyle Shanahan on how much missing key players was a factor in the 38-10 drubbing they sustained against the Packers.
I'm really not concerned right now about how many guys we missed today. We don't play good enough, so that's not a factor. But when you are missing some guys, you do have to be better. And when you have those penalties, when we didn't stop the run like we did, and then having those 3 turnovers in the second half, that's how you get embarrassed.
Yeah, and Fred Warner said they got embarrassed also. I think there is something to be said for overcoming an injury here, an injury there, an injury there. When there's too many of them, it does reach a point where it's just too much for any team.
And those are your guys that your attitude setters that go, hey, let's run through the wall. This is fun, like you're talking about, right? And it does. And
every game, it's a few guys here, it's a few guys there. Kittle's back, but this guy's hurt. McCaffrey's back.
This guy's
hurt.
Right. Trent Williams, before the game, we hear he's not going to go. Well, and I think, Mike, you make that point, and I don't think we got to take that seriously. I mean, Dre Greenlaw, he's one of the best linebackers in football. He's not there. Javon Hargrave is one of the best defensive tackles in football. He's not there. Hufunga, their safety, right? One of the physical, crazy psychos in football at safety, not there. So they're missing guys for sure. It's hurt them. McCaffrey's injury threw them off kilter for a little bit. The Brandon Ayuk offseason crap threw them off kilter. And then I think the other part that we just can't overlook, and you're right on the injuries, is just that they've climbed Mount Everest, I'm going to use your phrase, like 5 years in a row and got so close to the peak and have not been rewarded. And at some point it just becomes, We got to climb up it again. That's why I picked them to be a wild card team this year. See, when the Chiefs won, they got you get a refresh from that. Oh, we're the man, and now you got to come and beat us. We're the Super Bowl champs, and we want to do this again. So there's a little bit of boost of energy from that. When you're the team that gets so close and doesn't make it, and then all those long seasons, physical games, it takes a toll on you. And I think we're seeing that with the Niners right now.
It takes a toll on you physically. It takes a toll on you mentally.
Definitely.
And this is something that dawned on me after the 49ers lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I mention this because I saw on social media last night your former employer, Bleacher Report, pushed out what Kyle would regard as an annoying headline.
Hey, I was saying,
is Kyle Shanahan on the hot seat?
What a bullshit freaking headline by Bleacher Report. I saw that last night. I got home, and I'm just trying to chill out, before I go to bed and let my mind rest. And I'm looking through social media a little bit, and I saw that. That's stupid. Are you kidding me? Hot seat? For what? The best coach, the second best coach in football over the last 5 or 6 years? That is attention-grabbing online social media bullshit is what that is right there.
Now, on one hand, I would not put anything by Jed York, who, frankly, has been saved by Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch over the past several years because the 49ers were as dysfunctional gets. And you know what I say, the dysfunction starts at the top, and it started with ownership in San Francisco when they were doing they had Jim Harbaugh. And instead of making it work with Jim Harbaugh, they fired Jim Harbaugh.
Right.
And then they replaced him with Jim Tom Sula. And they got exactly what they deserved.
Yeah.
1 year later, he's gone. Then I get this bright idea to get Chip Kelly. 1 year later, he's gone. That was about the time that Jed York said the infamous thing, you don't dismiss the owner. Unfortunately, because all 49ers fans would have gladly gotten rid of him at that point if they could have. Shanahan has turned that page for him. John Lynch has turned that page. I don't know if that dysfunction bubbles up at some point, but my concern for Kyle's sake, this is the Andy Reid argument.
Yeah,
At
I know.
some point,
you've been saying this, right?
You just need to go somewhere else.
Right.
For your own good.
Right.
You need a fresh start for your own good. Because you've tried and you've banged your head and and there's a point where you need to find a new wall to go bang your head against.
I hear you. And, we see that in the NFL. We do see that from time to time. I've had people ask me stuff like that. Hey, do you think Shanahan might get burned out and want to, sit out a year and then restart with somebody else? I don't know. I don't get that sense. He's a good friend of mine. He's incredibly driven. That's what I can tell you. That was a tough Super Bowl loss on him and the 49ers. Certainly, it took them a while to get over that. But they still came into this year with high hopes, Super Bowl aspirations, and all that. And it's unfortunate with the injuries. And then, I think what maybe is we're a little bit, it's fair to say, is just the end of the shelf life of this 49er team as we've seen it. Is it time to now go, okay, let's refurbish for the future? We went to the Super Bowl twice. We went to the NFC Championship 2 other times with this football team. Do we start to flip it over and start to redo ourselves here? They got some tough questions to ask themselves as the season goes. They're not out of this we know, and they still have moments of looking really good, but they don't look like a Super Bowl caliber team. That's for sure, a fringe playoff team right now.
How much can you retool on the fly?
Yeah.
But the good news is they have Brock Purdy, who is supposedly their long-term answer.
Right.
And the guy that Shanahan has been looking for who can run the system the way he wants it to be run. But I do think at some point, not that he would ever want to walk away, but if the opportunity would arise, if he would be on the hot seat, yeah, it hurts to get fired. It hurts to get rejected. It hurts to not be able to finish the job the way you wanted to. But he falls into that Mike Tomlin category of if the 49ers ever would, they're going to line up out the door to try to hire Kyle Shanahan.
Exactly right.
Look what the Chiefs did.
Right.
Smartest move the Chiefs ever made, other than trading up and drafting Patrick Mahomes at the behest of Andy Reid and Brett Veach.
Right.
When Andy Reid was available after they cleaned house following the 2012 season, they went straight for Andy Reid. And he's been there ever since. And he now has 10 straight seasons of 10 or more wins. And he's got 19 overall, second only, or third, technically, to Bill Belichick and Don Shula, who have 20. Right. And it just keeps going, and it keeps working. And I feel like for Kyle, I want this for him, and I just don't think it's going to happen in San Francisco. I feel like the window's closed on the team that for the most part, the nucleus has been there, kind of
Right.
like the Bosa 49ers, because he got
The
there
Fred
on the
Warner,
front end of
all
it.
those guys, right.
That it's going to turn to something else. The Kittle 49ers.
Yeah.
Kittle said it himself going
Right.
into last
Kyle
year
Juszczyk.
that this window's closing on
Yeah.
us.
Right.
The window's still open for the 49ers because they'll find other guys. The same mindsets. They find those guys. But you got to keep finding them, and you got to keep the ones you have healthy,
Right.
or it's not going to work. This
Right.
is just like 2020. The year after they lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the physical toll caught up with them, and it's happening again
You're
this
right.
year.
You're right. You're right. It is happening again this year. It's unfortunate. They're 5-6. They got to go to Buffalo on Sunday Night Football this week. That's not going to be easy. They need Brock Purdy back badly. They got a tough schedule down the stretch here right now. You talk about with NFC West, I know it's wide open, but when you go Bills, okay, the Bears is not going to be easy. The Bears, Caleb Williams playing well. The defense, I mean, they've lost 2 heartbreakers in a row. They got to play the Rams again. They got to play the Dolphins. They got to play the Lions. They got to play the Cardinals. From what we've seen to this point, the 49ers have played some high-level football, but they also have that disease of, like, we'll find some way to do something bad at the end of the football game to lose it. And, yeah, what we've seen to this point, 5-6, do I think they're going to lose another 1 or 2, if not 3, here down the stretch? Yeah, it does by all due accounts in how they've played.
Well, that's the problem. Look, getting their butts kicked becomes the headline, but you look back at the schedule and the games they lost. They had the Rams beaten, they blew it. They
Right.
had the Cardinals beaten, they blew it. They had the Seahawks beaten, they blew
The
it.
Chiefs, it was a 1-score game. They were driving down, remember, and Jordan Mason fumbled, I think, on the 8 or 9 yard line in the end zone, and that changed that football game right there. I mean, you're right. So it's been blown opportunities. Back to your Vikings game early in the year, there was opportunities there where they got stopped on the goal line and had some turnovers, whatever it may be. It's been self-inflicted. It's been teams against them rising up to the challenge. But they have not found the magic that we've seen them have the last few years.
At the Bills, Bears, Rams, at the Dolphins, Lions, at the Cardinals.
It's one of the
Not
tougher
an easy
schedules
road. Not an easy road.
of all the NFC teams going, for a playoff run.
And they've got 3 primetime games, so everybody's going to be paying attention. 3 of the final 6 unlikely to be flexed in any event as well, because the other team is still, like the Rams are in it.
They're in it.
Lions,
They're in it.
We're going to want to see the Lions in
Yeah.
a standalone game. We don't get to see them as often as we'd like to, given their special season. Then going to Arizona. Cardinals already beat the 49ers.
Right.
Who knows how much longer the 49ers can stay in this, but the good news is it's all packed together in the NFC West, and somebody's going to be hosting the 5 seed. And who knows? Who knows? The 5 seed right now would be the Vikings, and who knows what happens if the Vikings would have to go to San Francisco, or if the Vikings would have to go back to LA where they already lost,
right,
or to Seattle where they go later this year, or to Arizona. They play Arizona next weekend. So, the NFC West, whoever wins it has a chance to make something happen, because you get that guaranteed home game.
Yep.
And as I said last week, if you're the Lions, you don't want the Rams.
Right.
You don't want the Rams
Right, yeah,
rolling
I hear
into Ford
ya.
Field. And let me tell you, if the 49ers get healthy, you don't want them
No,
rolling into Ford Field either.
It's not gonna be fun. It definitely not. I mean, you could have some definite wild card teams or teams that come out of the wild card this year who have premium top end talent. We just talked about Green Bay. They're certainly one of those teams. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, there's some dangerous aspects about the teams you mentioned.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.